Good evening. How are y'all? Caitlin, will you come shut this door for me too? Hey kids, y'all can head up to y'all's class. They should be starting any minute now. We still have some stragglers in the kitchen. All right, how are y'all? To say I'm nervous would be an understatement. I've led worship just by myself in front of the youth, but this will be my first time to actually have adults around. So this is kind of nerve-wracking for me. But if y'all would go ahead and stand up, we're going to get started. If y'all want to come down to the front, the altar is not just a place to come if you need to get saved or to confess your sins or to lay, just things that have gone wrong down. The altar is a place for you to lay your life down. So if you want to come to the front and worship with the youth, feel free. If not, I ask that you'd stand up and let's have an awesome time of worship tonight. Are y'all excited to be here? Anybody excited to be here? All right. You are I thank you for this night, God. Lord, I pray that you'll be blessed and honored through the testimonies that are being shared tonight, God. That, Lord, you'll speak through the people that are coming to give their testimonies, God, that you'll give them strength, Lord, to say the words that you want them to say, God. I pray that everybody that's sitting here that's listening, God, that our hearts will be open and receptive to what we hear tonight, God. I pray that if there's anybody here that doesn't know you tonight, God, that they don't leave this place without talking to somebody here, Lord, about coming into a relationship with you, Lord. I pray that people leave with their lives changed, God, that they walk through these doors, God, differently whenever they leave, God, that they're not the same person that they were when they walked in, God. I pray that you'll be honored and glorified through everything that goes on tonight, and I pray this in Jesus' holy name. Amen.
Is this on? Cool. Cool beans. All right. The reason I know there's not a huge amount of people here tonight is because a lot of them weren't here Sunday. Sunday, if you were here, if you weren't, it was awesome. We got our faces rocked off by some awesome testimonies, and that is just blew me away, man. I learned some stuff Sunday and heard some testimonies and some just amazing things from some amazing people. We had some just awesome time Sunday. If you're here and you probably shed a tear or six. It was amazing. Cried my eyes out and left just really encouraged and really strengthened. It's weird as a pastor to be on the receiving end sometimes, and I think it's awesome to be. So tonight we have a couple more people that are going to just share their hearts with us, share what God's done in their life with us. You don't have to listen to a sermon per se, but it is a sermon. It's their life. It's what God has done in them. And I don't know if they paper, rock, scissors for who's going to go first or what. But what I want to do is tonight we're going to have, it's just two people. So if you're thinking like, man, it's going to be a long night, probably is. It's good. No. I want to pray for them real quick, and then I will get out of the way and let them share their hearts. Lord, I thank you for this night, God. I pray for Brother Kenneth and Miss Tanya, Lord, as they share, as they come to just open up and to show people and to show us what you have done in their lives, Lord. I thank you so much for a family and a husband and wife that are willing to serve, Lord, and willing to step out of their comfort zone to make you known, Lord, and to see other people's lives changed by you. I pray for strength and boldness to speak in their lives tonight. Lord, I pray that you will just, when their mouth's open, that you will speak, Lord, that you will change us because of what you've done in their lives. I pray for an amazing time, Lord. I pray for an amazing word from you, God, and that we will all leave changed closer to you, Lord, and just encouraged in our walk. I pray all these things in Jesus' holy name. Amen. Amen. So, did y'all paper, rock, scissors? Who's going first? Same time? Y'all gonna hold each other up? Ladies first. Just tell him. They always let the beautiful people go first, right? Let me get out of your way.
Okay, this is
Everybody
a killer.
give Tanya a round of applause.
Can I do this in the dark? I brought my water because I know I'm going to need it. This is, I don't know how anybody stands that. That's a killer. I'm really nervous. There's nothing written. I'm not good at this at all. I'm one of those that thought, I don't really have a, big testimony. But Danny asked me about doing this, and I feel led that that's what I'm supposed to do. As a kid, my parents weren't really in church. And also, you're going to bear with me because there will be tears eventually. My mom was Catholic. My dad was Methodist. So I lived in a house divided that my dad looked at it as though, wait till the kids get older and let them decide. So as much as my mom would try to take us with her, he would kind of bear down and say, no, let them decide. Well, when you're a kid, you don't know. And my grandmother, though, she was my pillar. She was the one. She would stay on them, no, I'm taking them to church, So that's the only way we really went to church and knew anything. And as kids, we did what we were supposed to do. We followed, As I became a teenager, it was just kind of turned into a drug child, which was drug to church by my grandmother. I ended up living with my grandmother because my situation with my dad we just didn't jive. It wasn't that he was a bad man. It's just that he had views and he had ways of doing things that we butt heads about. I was a rebellious teenager, big time, to say the least. And the more he would, the stricter he got, the worse I got. And, my grandmother the whole time was right there, trying her best, doing what she could. So I ended up living with my grandmother. And I went to church, with her. Like I said, we were Methodists, and I did what I was supposed to do as far as in public, I guess. But, I turned into, I drank. My whole life was about friends, partying, drinking, when was the next party, that kind of thing. I never really got it. My sister did, but I never, and I was one of those kids that would make fun of her. It's like, you little goody-goody, going to church. And I would go, but I just, I didn't get it. And she stayed in there, though. She stayed in there. And then things with my dad just kind of was on and off, on and off. But my granny was always there. And no matter what, no matter how much I rebelled and turned away, it was like she was still, I thank God right now that she was still there planting her seeds, because I didn't realize it then how important it was and how much of that would come back for me later. So Kenneth and I don't know if everybody in here knows this or not, we were high school sweethearts. And, we did our roller coaster. We did our thing. And Kenneth he didn't have a church childhood either. So when we got married, of course, we just, grandmother still was right in there, stay in church, go to church. We'd go, I'd pull Kenneth. It was never there. We never opened up. We never let it happen. And then when we started thinking about a family, and that didn't go so well. So we spent 5 years. If anybody's ever heard me call Chelsea, my daughter, the $1 million baby, there's a reason. Because it took, I swear it feels like it took that to have her. It was 5 years, long years, several miscarriages. And when that started happening, I really withdrew. I was a case of, then, everything that I was already thinking was just being confirmed. How could you? I asked all the questions, why, how could you? I was mad. I was so mad. So we went for years, and we did the fertility thing, and we finally were blessed. And like I said, the whole time behind me, my grandmother was right there, reminded me, and she'd constantly tell me how much she was praying for me. And I'd go, yeah, like it's really helping. I was just so rebellious on that level. And then finally, it worked. And Chelsea came along. And I think I just had Chelsea. And my grandmother had gotten sick. And we were in the hospital. And she basically was on her deathbed. And I started feeling that pull after having Chelsea and realizing family and just how important God really was. But I didn't give in, and like I said, Kenneth wasn't there either. So, it was just kind of like I was feeling my way, and my granny was my only pull. And I continued to feel like something was just missing. I didn't really understand it, but I knew there was something missing. So my granny, when she was actually her last breath, she was in the hospital, and I was in the room, and she looked at me, and she said, "Tanya, get back in church. Get your babies in church." And she died. That was it. And so that was her last words to me. And to this day, that just, that haunted me for a long time. And I would go home, and I'd open my Bible, and read a little bit and then turn away again. So finally, years went on, and Veronica, a friend of mine, she had started coming here, and she started asking us to come, and we did. Well, I think I finally convinced Kenneth to come on a Wednesday, and so we did, and it was just like home for me when I realized that this was it, and I'm thinking, okay, well, I'd said the prayer and I'd done everything like I said in public like I was supposed to do, but I never really got it, but I just kind of played along because I really honestly didn't know, and so I came here and it was just feeling different. It was just feeling different than anything I'd ever experienced, and Kenneth and I had tried different other churches, and we had actually gone back to my home church, tried that, and like I said, just nothing really fit, and I didn't understand. And I kept always thinking, there's got to be more, there's got to be more. So we came here, just felt good. So we continued, and in the meantime, I'm kind of getting ahead of myself because I'm so nervous, but I have another grandmother, which is my mother's mother, because that was my dad's mother. We moved her here from Florida, and she wasn't a very likable person by her family. Because she was my grandmother, I gave what I needed to give, and she was something. And she got sick. Well, while that was in '09, and while we were here, we hadn't been coming here on and off but a couple of months, and she died. And so Danny I'd asked him, he didn't really know us well, and Shirley didn't know her, asked him to do the funeral, everything, because I was at a loss. Because at this point, my mother had a heart attack, and the rest of the family, she has 6 kids, and nobody wanted to have anything to do with doing anything for her, because she just wasn't a nice person. She didn't raise her children right. She wasn't good to them. But I always felt this need that, I don't know, I still connected with her. So suddenly, it was like my dad had come to me and said, your mother is too weak. She's too frail to deal with this. You're going to have to deal with it. So me and my sister were here I was. I'd never dealt with this kind of thing that's told, here, do the funeral, do everything. It's your, everybody wanted to cremate her. She had already let me know, no, absolutely not. You better not cremate me. So that was in my ear. I knew that's not what she wanted, but that's what the rest of the family wanted. So I had to take on the burden of figuring it out. I had no clue to where to even start. And I did what I had to do and found her policy finally. I mean, we had $5,000 to bury her. If anybody knows anything, I didn't at the time. That's nothing. We go to the funeral home, and they practically laugh at me with my $5,000 check. Kenneth and I could not afford to do anything. And it was just kind of like I was just at my wit's end. It was just like over a period of a couple of days, here this huge burden was on me. And Danny and everybody was just so good. And, I could feel my pull. I could feel it. And every door that I went to, it just felt like I just didn't know what to do. So I went to the funeral home several different times, picked out several different things, doing different stuff, trying to get that money right. It just would never get right. And on finally a day, it was like I had to go conquer these things. One, I had to go beg, borrow, trade, do what I had to do to bury my grandmother. And I remember going, and I got in my car. And I'm in the driveway. So everybody talks about different places that they got saved. I was saved in my driveway. And like I said, at this point, I thought I was saved. I really did. I believed in God. I said I was a Christian. I'd gone to church when I was supposed to. I was a good person. So that was my theory. That was my way of looking at it. And suddenly, it was just this overwhelmingness of just everything, the situation. It just seemed like my whole life suddenly was just there. And I just started crying to God, and I said, God, I really can't do this by myself. I really can't. I do need you. And I just cried to him, and I just talked to him, and I asked for forgiveness, and I apologized for all the horrible things that I had said to him during my dark times. And it was just like, that was a feeling that I can't even put into words. Suddenly, I felt his presence, and he was there. He was with me, and he let me know, I'm with you. And I dried it up. God left the driveway. I went to the funeral home. I went back in there one last time, and I was like, what can we do? I've got to get her buried. Here's $5,000. And he looked at me, and he said, we're going to get it done. I think the least I could get it done for that he was at that point was telling me was $8,000. They completely ignored the rest of it. Let me pick out what I wanted, what I had originally picked out in the beginning. He said, we're going to get her buried. He took my $5,000 check. I said, thank you, God. He showed me he was there. I went to the flower shop, and I said, I have $100, because that's all Kenneth and I had. I said, $100, and I had to have flowers for my grandmother. And she looked at me, and she said, did she like red roses? And I said, yeah. And she said, I'm going to fix the most beautiful thing you've ever seen. So for $100, she did like a $500 spread for her casket. God again showed me he was right there with me. I went to the burial, the cemetery. I told them my same story. I'm sorry, I've got to figure this out. We've got to come up with something. He said, don't worry about it. Fill this out. Come back and see me next month, and we'll start working something out. We'll work out a payment plan. I don't remember exactly all the words and how it went down, but basically that was it. I left there with just paperwork. He had my word. Everything was done, and she was going to be buried. Thank you, God, again. And if that wasn't convincing me, I don't know what would have, but basically that was my road. I finally opened my heart, and I finally let him in, and he showed me real good that he was there for me and had always been there for me. And I felt his presence ever since. And he'll never leave me, and I know it. I don't know what else to say.
Wow. Didn't even need it. It's good. Wow, Mr. Kenneth, you got a solid rock there, man. Awesome. Well, this is Mr. Kenneth. He's wiping his tears now. He's ready. This is Miss Tanya's husband. Everybody, give Mr. Kenneth a round of applause.
If y'all think she was nervous, wait till you hear me. I don't like talking in front of people at all. I've been doing it a lot these days here recently because of something that's happened in my life, but it's just God for me. But like Tanya said, growing up, my family didn't go to church. It wasn't even a thought in our mind. We deer hunted, we fished, we squirrel hunted. Sundays was hunting day. Ain't no time for church for us. But proud to say my mom and daddy is now in church at every holiday they are now. They've been going for several years now. Got one brother that's not in church, and I can stay on him all the time. But I'm not even going to say, well, I'm going to go back a few years. Tanya talks about the kids we lost. And this is hard for me. That's when I guess I felt God, really. We lost our first child, and I had a fellow at work. He was on me about coming to church. And he just about had me there because I just felt him just pulling me. And but this went on for several months, and he had just recently got saved, and he just started on me. And I kept telling him, when I'm ready, but I'm not ready. But I said, just keep asking because I'm getting there. And he did. Well, we was sitting in my office one day at the paper mill, me and two other foremen and this other guy. And this guy was sitting there, and him and this other guy that was a friend of mine. They went to the same church. Well, he looked at me and he said, "You're going to hell and I'm going to heaven." I said, "Really? How do you know that?" He said, "Because I know." I said, "Okay, well, I don't." So I took his word for it. Well, we walked out of that office and we went down the road, and this boy that told me he was going to heaven and I was going to hell stole a pair of pliers out of a mailman's locker. So I thought right then, what's to this stuff? That was the end of that church stuff for me. I told my buddy, don't ever ask me again, because if that's what goes on at y'all's church, I don't want no part of it. He's a thief, and he's telling me I'm going to hell. So no thank you. I don't want no more of it. That was the end of it for me. Up until we started coming here. When I first come in these doors, Veronica invited us. I said, I'll pacify Tanya and Chelsea. And Jacob, which Jacob at that time was not really, it's mainly Chelsea for me. I'll pacify them, and I'll be out of here in 3 weeks, and I'll just go on back doing what I was doing. Well, I ain't stopped going yet. And I felt love when I walked in the door the very first time. It took me a while. I felt the pull for a long time. And Brother Jack got here, and I couldn't handle it no more. There I went. Now, it sounded good and all that, but about a month after I got saved, things went downhill for me. And I didn't like God at all. I got mad, and then I got over it. I got back in it. But I guess it's been about 6 months ago. I got real mad. Some of y'all know, a lot of y'all don't know maybe. At 23 years old, I was diagnosed with psoriatic arthritis. Couldn't hardly walk. Couldn't do a lot of things. And I got better. Well, it seemed when I got saved, it just seemed like my whole world fell apart. I done had to quit a good job to take a job that wasn't paying as much, and that didn't sit very well with me. I was at home, and I thank God for that. But I got real mad, and to the point where I think Danny come by the store one day and said, "How's Kenneth doing?" I said, "He ain't doing real good." And she come home that night, and she said, "Danny might come by here today." I said, "If he does, I'm going to throw him out the door. I don't want him here. I don't want him here at all." Well, that's been going on for 3 or 4 weeks, I guess, probably longer. I was in really bad shape. I just couldn't do much. I mean, I didn't have much of a life. I mean, I worked, I ate, and I went to bed, and I came here. I hurt so bad that I just didn't have no family life. I just couldn't do nothing. But I woke up the next day, and I don't know, it was like somebody said, "I'm right here, buddy. You just got to listen, and you'll be all right." Well, a few days went by. Well, I don't even think it was a few days. I think it was all that day. It may have been a couple of days before Danny come by the house. But anyway, I sat around thinking, I haven't done much for myself, but what has God done for me? Well, he, when the paper mill closed, he provided me with a job. I stayed working till I couldn't. But when he knew I couldn't do it anymore, he found me an easier job. Might not have paid as much, so he could have done a little better there, but he didn't. But he knew what I needed. But so I started thinking about things like that, and I started even back before I was saved. I got 2 wonderful kids, and if it wasn't for God, I wouldn't have them. And I mean, Tanya come to me when she got pregnant with Chelsea, and this was around the time that I was getting real bad with my arthritis, and we were broke. We had done spent hundreds of thousands of dollars trying to have 1 kid and lost 2. And she come to me and she said, "What am I going to do? I'm pregnant." And I said, "Well, better put it in God's hands is all I can say, because we had nothing else. Well, she's upstairs, and that's the product of God. And the other one, I don't know where he's at. He's around here somewhere. There he is in the back. But I just started thinking about all those things, what God done for me, and it brought me back to where I needed to be. And I thank God every day for everything I have. Back then, at that point in time, what I had didn't matter. It's what I wanted. I wanted to feel better. I wanted to do things with my family, and I wanted to enjoy life. Well, it doesn't matter anymore, because he's going to make the decisions for me. And here, but Danny come by the house, I guess, next couple of days after that. And I told him, I said, if you would have came here 2 days ago or whatever, how long ago it was, I would have thrown you out of my house. And he just kind of snickered, and I said, I'm not playing. I was serious. So we talked and all, but I said, I'm good now. I said, the devil's gone out of my house. We're back good. So, and I hadn't quit yet. I'm not perfect. Don't claim to be. But he just keeps showing me. 9 weeks ago, I started something new, and I have very little arthritis pain anymore. So I thank God for that. My back has hurt all my life. It hadn't hurt, and I couldn't tell you when now. It's about 30 days now. So, I mean, I still have bad days and good days with it, but I have more good than bad. I've actually got my family back, and I enjoy them, and I just thank God for all he's given me. And that's about it, y'all.
Awesome. He enjoys my family sometimes too. Mr. Kenneth he was there and helped babysit Elijah a few weeks ago, which was awesome, with a cut finger. He is a beast. Guys, I don't have really much to say that even compare to these two testimonies we heard, other than the two testimonies you've heard is a product of Jesus Christ being displayed in our church. In our church. Yes, they were pressured and pushed from all the different directions, but we see salvation come in our body, in this little, at the end of a gravel road, at the end of this paved road, at the end of another gravel road. We see God has changed 2 lives just through the love that people encountered here. And I pray that that's how people come. 4, actually, yes, 2, and then 2 of their youngest, 5. Got another one here, got drugged by, she made me cry my eyes out Sunday. But there's countless more in this room right here. People's lives who have just been changed by the love that has been displayed through our church and through our family here and through others. Not just Cornerstone. We're not anything special, but we see the beauty and the testimony. And man, that's awesome. I'm so pumped to just see the growth and the people's lives that have been changed. I too, like when I walked through the front doors for the first time, felt like I'd been here my whole life. That's pretty awesome. That says a lot about this church body, this family, the folks that are here. I know it's kind of a short night, I guess you'd say. It's, 7:40. But that's really all we had planned for tonight. Pastor Danny told me that this week, this Sunday and Wednesday, was just going to be a time to let the church be the church. And I think that's been greatly displayed here. Just to see the amazing work God's done in their lives, and in our lives, and others. And you got some good popcorn and cookies too, and that's always a plus. But super glad you all came tonight. I'll pray and we'll dismiss. If you have any questions, anything you want to know about Cornerstone, is it always like this? Is it always I don't know, it's not always testimonies. Sometimes Pastor Danny's up here ranting and raving and giving you all the gospel and the truth, which is everything they gave was the gospel and the truth. But it's always something different, and Cornerstone is unique, and it's beautiful. But I'll pray for you guys, and we'll be dismissed.